Hey guys. So I wanted to do a little introduction into my video blog that I'm starting. I think this is really important because I put out a lot of really inspiring posts and stuff about how we shouldn't be held back by our fear and self-doubt because that is literally what stops us from doing pretty incredible things. I don't know if you've seen the video that Will Smith has done. I've been seeing it floating around Facebook, but he says how everything you love and want is on the other side of fear. And he talks about going skydiving and uses that as an example. But I think that's the reality, but it doesn't mean that I don't get caught up in my own fear and self-doubt. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how things have been going in my business for the past couple weeks. I started the idea for my business roughly back in January, so it's May now. And it wasn't very clear at all. I just knew I really still loved the experience and knowledge I had from becoming a therapist, and I wanted to find a way to use it because I love working with people and I love seeing people make change in their life and getting where they want to go. So it started a little bit I just know I want to have my own business. I cannot work for someone else anymore. It's just not in my blood to do that. I need to be doing it for me. And I knew I kind of wanted to take my business online. I didn't want to have to be location dependent because, mostly because I just want to be able to go out and do stuff. I want to go hike and I want to go ride my horse and I want to go see family and visit and that sort of thing. So being able to do those things was a big part of it too. And that doesn't mean that I right now I spend my time doing my business, a lot of it at my desk. I'm not running around on these crazy adventures. I'm putting in a lot of hours and I still enjoy it. I like what I'm doing a lot. The back end of building a website and writing emails and my favorite part I think is probably putting together my Instagram posts because I love doing the pictures and I love doing video. So that doesn't mean I'm actually at the point where I can walk away from my business a little bit and let it do its own thing. I'm still very tied to the day-to-day tasks of it. But it's more about my long-term plan. What do I want out of this business? What do I want to look like? So I'm kind of setting up a lot of the structure for it right now. But again, it's just been really bland. I was I want to help people do better in life and feel confident and feel self-assured because those are things that I struggled with a lot. And I felt okay, this is something I have had a personal journey with and B have been trained extensively in. So it made a lot of sense to do it and it felt really good and I was yes, this is it. As I've said in other videos, I knew that this was the right business for me and it was very easy at that point to some extent, still scary, but to invest a lot of money into it. I've put a lot of money into this business and have not gotten very much back out of it yet. And that scares me a little bit some days for sure. I think that was part of the problem is that I wasn't really clear on my message. So I was writing stuff and being do you want to feel confident and do you want to not worry about your, not have worries that drag you down every day and do you really struggle with anxiety? I think a lot of people do to some extent, but it was just too broad. So in the past few weeks, a big thing that has come about is that I've really changed my business direction a little bit. So rather than just working with people who want to feel more confident and self-assured, I've really narrowed it down to I want to help women start businesses where they can have this freedom and flexibility I think that a lot of us desire. I know for me, a big part of it is that even though I don't have kids yet, I've always thought about what it would be like being a parent and a mom and what our life will look like when my husband and I have kids. And I wanted, I just saw so many parents who struggled between, especially in the Marine Corps, because there's, when you have when one of the parents is active duty, that person's very tied to their job, in a way that's very extreme. And that's because of the requirements of that job. and the contract you sign when you get in. And so it leaves a lot on the other parent to have to pick up like the rest of the slack, especially during deployments. And so I saw this kind of lifestyle, and at the time my husband was like, yeah, I want to stay in and do a full career. So I was like, well, like I want the job that I can have a career. I don't want to just like not have anything for myself that I'm creating. Like that was important to me. But I also wanted to like have the flexibility to like when my husband deployed and our kids are young, and like I want to be there and be able to, you know, go to school to pick up my child when they're sick or whatever, and not have it negatively impact my work. So that's kind of always been a big part of it for me. So the freedom flexibility part was really important. So now that my husband's out of the Marine Corps, that hasn't really changed though, like because the reality is everyone struggles with that. Like we all have obligations to our jobs, and sometimes one parent or one family member is like has to give a lot more to their job, you know, and the other person has to try and step up a little bit. I mean, I think in a lot of relationships it works that way. It's not always a 50-50 split. It's kind of unrealistic. Like things come up in life and we have to kind of like put our support behind the other person who needs it at that moment. And then it generally flip-flops and then the other person needs more support. So that was a big part of my decision. And I saw so many women struggling with this, of the idea of like having a career and being, you know, a good parent and staying at home versus going out and working. Like it was just, I think there's a lot of guilt tied up into it, and people try to find their own way with it. And I knew I knew for sure what I wanted. So, yeah, so to me, then this became like a wonderful way for me to be very more specific in my business and really talk to the woman who is struggling with these same issues. Like, I want to have my own business. I don't want to be working for someone because I want that flexibility, you know, for my family and for my life. I want to still be able to do like the hobbies and things that I enjoy and not have to give like everything up in order to also be a good, you know, wife, partner, you know, mother, friend. Like I think it's for me, like I'm best when I'm also like bringing more good things into my life. So like if I stopped riding my horse, I can tell you right now, like I'd be miserable to be around, because that's such a big part of my life and it gives me so much energy that like then I can go and do other things and like be filled with like this positive energy and this joy. If I don't have that, and there's been periods in my life where like gosh, I've gotten hurt a lot. I've broken bones and sprains and stuff like that that's kept me away from horses. And those have been some of like the times when I've been most sad and, you know, felt really depressed and down. So I just know for me, like I need the flexibility in my life where I can work and like contribute meaningfully income wise, but not necessarily have to be rigidly tied to a, you know, 9-to-5 job or whatever that is, or like just an overwhelming business. I mean, some people create businesses for themselves and just end up so overwhelmingly involved in it that it feels like you're working for someone else still. So that was a big part of it. But in the past few weeks, as I've gotten more clear, I've had to go back and rewrite like everything, all of the copy, and like it was really frustrating. And like I guess I was excited about it because I finally knew like, okay, this is where like this feels really good. I want to put my effort into this. But I had already created so much stuff. Like, so I think I got a little bit like shut down about the whole thing because I was going back and like doing the steps and like recreating things, but I basically stopped putting out a lot of content. And I'll tell you that like this is the biggest thing that I think drives people to me, is seeing the content that I'm putting out there, like whether it's images or like little educational posts. But a big one is video, and I wasn't doing any video over like basically the past month. And so when I looked back at that, I said, whoa, like no wonder I'm not seeing results right away. Like, yeah, I'm having to put a little bit more effort into the writing, but I probably shouldn't have given up the video and the content and that sort of thing. I think a big part of it was that I wanted to present this like ideal image of what I was doing. And the fact is, it's been messy. And even when I think about putting together content, like doing this video, I have been trying to, so when you get out of the Marine Corps, or I'm pretty sure this is true of any military branch, they pay to move you one last time. So we had to accept delivery on our entire contents of our house in February. Like, it was cold and snowy and crazy. So we accepted delivery, but we're staying with my family right now. So like our stuff is all up in my parents' garage attic. And finding anything is completely insane. Like, I was trying to find some of my old therapy books and like just some books I like to read. Like that was my number one priority. Where are my books? Like, because I think I had brought a couple with me when I moved myself, but then like most of it got packed. So I'm like going through these boxes and it was so chaotic, but I was really excited because I love my desk. It's so pretty. And I was like, this is going to be the perfect backdrop for all my videos. And so I got so pumped about the desk that I was like, I'm just going to wait until I put it together to do a video. Well, guess what? It's been like 2 weeks and I wasn't doing videos. And so now I sit on top of my working desk, which is actually a sewing desk. Like, if you see this right now, there's a hole in here that I've stacked books in because that's where the sewing machine goes. And I just did it. I was like, you know what, whatever. I'm just sitting on top of it, like against a, neutral background. And I just did it. And I think part of it is when we shift, we get a little bit uncertain about things. And it does, I think it put me a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And ideally, I think I always kind of want to be there, like a little bit pushing the edge on that and not just feeling comfortable with what I'm doing. Like Will Smith, like what Will Smith says, like the best things are on the other side of that fear and that comfort. So if we stay here, it's not going to get us what we really want. So I think it's good. It's just, we also have to recognize like we need to build a little bit support around that. So like for me, I have my business coach who really keeps me on track, and supports me as like, focus on this right now. Don't worry about every little thing. Like putting your desk together, like the things that are most meaningful, I think, for anyone who's in business is getting to know exactly who it is you want to be working with and getting pretty specific with that. And then talking to that person. So like doing video or writing blogs or putting together pretty Instagram posts or whatever it is for you. But that connection that you're going to build with your potential customer is really the biggest, like strongest piece that's going to eventually help you, sell your services or your product or whatever that is. So I think it's important to talk about this stuff because, again, like I'm sitting here promoting like, push past it, the fear is what's going to keep you from ever getting started. But even once you start, like I have been, like there will be times when it's still confusing. And I think having the accountability and the support of someone else makes that a whole lot easier, because it's easy to get back stuck in that cycle of kind of spinning your wheels and feeling like nothing's working, and trying to like put a little energy here and a little energy there and a little energy here, thinking like you're kind of like spreading the eggs out into multiple baskets kind of thing. But you really do need to have all your eggs in one basket. Like there needs to be one priority, one focus, and one place for most of your energy to be going, because otherwise you're not going to get returns on all these tiny investments. So keep that in mind as you're working through your process with either your business ideas or starting to put together marketing content or, just speaking to your client. Like these are all kind of pieces where we need to just focus on what's going to be our long-term goal and have our short-term goals kind of line up with that. So mine is, really creating, this freedom and flexible business. So even though I'm not necessarily like fully booked right now, I'm creating the structures to allow me to do that. So, writing emails, getting content together so that I can recycle those into different areas of my business. So yeah, you have to think about what's that ultimate priority for you. So I hope this has been beneficial. I'd like to kind of keep sharing a little bit of my process with you guys too, because I think it's helpful to see someone kind of like figure it out and see what that's like. So, you know, comment below and let me know, like, you know, if this is something that's helpful for you, what you'd like to see, you know, more content around. And then I have my free checklist that goes through the like 5 steps that I use to kind of start getting clear on my business ideas, build that confidence so I could like push into my business fully. And then a lot of that self-awareness around, you know, who am I going to be talking to? What is the reason I'm involved in this business? There's just like, it's, you know, 5 things that really kind of cemented in my process for starting my business. It's completely free and just a really helpful guide. So I'll put the link for that below and, you know, dive into that, and I'll speak to you soon. All right, guys, take care.